Okay, so yes, I did put my Christmas tree up in March, and no, self-isolating at home definitely has not influenced my sanity. I just really, really like Christmas. Anyway, so today I just wanted to recap where we've been and where we're going next. So the last several videos have been all about the psychology of preferences, and we've seen the preferences are often constructed rather than sitting inside our heads in a big book that we can read from. We talked about preference reversals, so situations where you pick A over B when you make a choice one way, but then you turn right around and you pick B over A when you're making a choice a different way. So could be because you're making binary choices versus rating the attractiveness of the different options, or because you're looking at A and B together versus one at a time. Then you watched a video about choice sets and relativity, so that's about context effects. When you're deciding between options A and B, sometimes adding a third option, C, can change your preferences between A and B. And finally, you learned about defaults, which are an example of a framing effect. So talking about an option one way versus a different way can change your preferences. If you frame organ donation as the default, you're likely to donate your organs, but if the default is not signing up to donate your organs, you're very likely to not sign up. Okay, so in the rest of these decision-making videos, we're going to add in some complications, as though it's not complicated enough already, one at a time. So the next several videos are going to look at different aspects of the psychology of money and value. In the modern economy, most of our choices are mediated by money, so it's important to understand how people think about money and compare the value of different options with the value of money. You'll learn about how people think about opportunity costs, and you'll see that people often neglect the fact that buying one thing means you are not able to buy something else. You'll learn about anchoring and relativity, which are really just different versions of the idea that our judgments and decisions are heavily influenced by reference points that we use to contextualize that information. So we're good at judging things relative to other things, we're not so good at judging stuff in isolation. You'll learn about the endowment effect, which is about how we value things that we feel that we already own versus don't yet own. And you'll learn about the pain of paying a mental accounting. That tells us that people don't just think about the utility they'll be getting from consuming what they're going to purchase, but they also can attain pain or pleasure from the deal they're getting, and how that fits in with how we put money into different categories. So there's a lot of different biases here, but there are a couple different ideas that run through these and really all of this material on decision making. The first is that we're good at judging things relative to each other, but not so good at judging things in isolation. So the key behind anchoring, many different preference reversals, and later on we're going to see that's a key idea in prospect theory too. The second is that losses loom larger than gains. We like gaining things, but we hate losing things even more. So this is one of the main ideas behind framing effects, default biases, and the endowment effect. And finally, we like breaking things up into small categories, and that's the idea behind mental accounting. So that helps us to explain some of the quirks of what makes some ways of spending money more painful than others. So I hope you enjoyed this next set of videos.